you have amassed such an awesome community online based on your journey with sobriety. Can you share what that was, how you got to this point, your story?
Yeah.
I know, just a light question to start off.
Yeah. Wow.
What inspired your decision?
To get sober or to start the account?
Sober.
To get sober. I mean, it was years in the making of me knowing that I had a problem and a substance use problem. And it wasn't just drinking. It was just numbing my feelings and trying to escape and being depressed and anxious and just wanting to party and not really confront like the reasons I was trying to escape. Sure. And but COVID, I would say COVID is the real reason I got sober. Like without COVID, I don't know if I'd have any of this. It really provided me with the time and the space to like realize that all these external factors that I blamed on the things in my life that were like, I didn't like my job, my relationship at the time, my partner, like all of these external things like went away. Yeah. And I realized that like, my drinking was the root cause of so much of my unhappiness, but I needed 2020 to like binge on like TV and
Sure.
alcohol and food to like realize like, oh, I thought this is what I wanted was basically to do nothing and sit on the couch and watch TV and drink all day.
A lot of people can relate to that.
Right. And I did that and I was still really unhappy. And I was like, okay, how do I become a happy, motivated person? Yeah. And the answer to that was to stop drinking.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I had like a moment in like June of 2020 where I was like, my ex and I left the city, and my mom has a house in New Hampshire on a lake, and we went and we stayed there for a few months, and I was like drinking by myself in the lake. Well, I had my dog on my lap, and this guy goes running by the house, and my internal voice was like, ugh, what a loser, running on such a nice day. And this voice came into my head that I'd never heard before. And it was like, he's not the loser, you're the loser. Wow. And I was like, wait, why am I the loser?
Wow.
And the voice was like, he's bettering himself. You're sitting here drinking like a blob alone. And I had this like dialogue where I was like, how do I become more like this person who's like trying to be a better version of themselves?
Yeah.
And the voice was like, he's not drinking whiskey till he passes out on his couch every night. And there was like this like click moment, and it almost was like an out of body experience. Like I can see myself in the lake.
Wow, that's intense.
Yeah.
That's intense.
Yeah. And then 6 months later, I did Dry January 2021 at my mom's request.
Good for you. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. How has sobriety changed your view? I mean, it has to have changed everything, but your view on socializing, your personal growth.
I mean, it changed my whole life.
Yeah.
Like every single aspect of my life is different. Like I'm not the same human that I was back then.
Yeah.
Before, I didn't want to make new friends. I like didn't want to ever step out of my comfort zone. My anxiety was so bad. It was debilitating. And I would just like spend all my time with the same people in the same dark dive bars doing the same things over and over. And I would never do things by myself because I was like scared.
Yeah.
I thought everyone was judging me. I was almost like paranoid at certain points. And it was a horrible existence, honestly.
Isn't it funny, the very thing that people use to mask the anxiety is what enhances it more?
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely thought that drinking helped my anxiety.
Right,
and
right.
My
a lot
mom,
of people do.
Yeah. No, my mom at one point was like, no, it actually makes it worse, I'm pretty sure. And I was like, Mom, you're wrong. Like, you don't know what you're talking about. But she was right.
Yeah. We live in New York City, such a big nightlife, drinking culture. What are the challenges of living here and doing sobriety here?
I actually think this is the best place to be sober.
Love it. Tell me.
I can't imagine sitting in the suburbs with nothing to do.
Good point.
Without drinking. Like, yes. I would be so bored.
Right.
I'm so sorry if you live in the suburbs and that's what you're doing. I apologize. But, yeah, I think this is the best place to be sober. There's so much to do.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, it's a big nightlife, like, city, but there's also the museums and the parks and this is the city where all my substance use problems started. Like I started going to the clubs here in New York City when I was like 15 years old. I was at boarding school. My friends at boarding school were all like city kids that got sent to boarding school. And so we'd come here on the weekends and we'd go to like Bungalow 8. Yeah. And I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And I was doing like drugs then, like really young. And so this city was like my party, my
Yes,
playground.
yes.
But now that I'm sober, it's also like there's so much cool stuff that I never experienced, that I never took advantage of before.
What do you do now? More cultural?
Well, for instance, Central Park. I mean,
Yeah, I know.
I didn't even know my way around Central Park
Yeah,
before. Like, I would maybe drink in the park with my friends sometimes,
Yeah.
but I didn't know where anything was. Like, it was overwhelming. And when I got sober, I like literally didn't know what to do with myself. I was like, okay, it's 2021. It's cold. What am I gonna do? So every time I wanted to drink, I would start walking with my dog, and he would pull me to Central Park. And it started off with us just like going in for a second. And then as I got further on in my journey, he pulled me further and further into the park. And we started walking like this like 5 or 6 mile
Wow.
loop every morning.
Yeah.
Then we started doing off leash. And it literally, I kind of convinced myself that first year, if I didn't do that, like big walk, I would relapse. So it wasn't like, I'm very all or nothing. But it was like my oasis and my like way of like grounding myself in this like chaotic city.
I give you credit though. You had to relearn New York City again. That's hard. That's really hard to do.
Yeah.
Like get away from all the old habits.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's difficult.
I will say because of COVID though, like 2021 was still locked down. Like I got January 2021, there was nothing happening. There were no dinners, there were no parties. You could like kind of go to the bars, I think, and like restaurants outside, right? But there was no, like nothing happening.
Nothing.
And so I think because of that, it set me up for success.
Oh,
because I
interesting.
didn't have the temptation of like, oh, my friends are having a dinner party, or there's the work holiday party, or there's the bachelorette. Like I didn't have that.
Sure.
And like now I'm a coach, so I help people get sober, and those are the biggest things that like people have to overcome in the first 3 months.
Right. Your practices and routines. Is it walking for you? I know someone who is sober who is the most dedicated person in the morning to his meditation. More than anyone, religious anywhere. It is inspiring. But that's for him. That's what he needs to do every morning at like 5:30. Do you have to do something every day? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely the walking. I mean, I also have a dog, so I really
Helpful.
have no choice
Yeah.
to do the walking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, next month will be 4 years for me since I had my last
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's huge.
I will say, like, throughout the 4 years, there's been periods of time where I've, like, slacked off on some of the things that were really important at the beginning of my sober journey.
Okay.
Even now, like, I haven't really been journaling. I've been super busy with, like, different projects I'm working on. And I kind of have to sometimes remind myself, like, if without the journaling and the walking and the meditating and those things, like, I need those. Those are the pillars,
Yes,
right,
yeah.
for me.
Is self-reflection really important in your journey? The journaling, the sitting with your feelings. I
Yeah,
guess
I
that's
mean-
being a good human.
Sitting with your feelings, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, and I have a lot of feelings. Like, I have a lot of feelings.
Yeah,
I'm
good.
an emotional Cancer, and my
Love.
feelings are just like bubbling up all the time.
Yes.
I think
You're passionate.
very passionate.
Yep.
I think my Instagram account, though, is also really helpful for that. When I made the account because I was scared I was going to drink again. It was like almost 9 months into the journey, and like my ex, who I was with for 5 years, I had made him move out. I didn't really have any friends left because people either left the city because of COVID, or they were my drinking friends.
Yes.
And I just like was scared that nothing was holding me accountable. And I didn't have like a community. So I made the account, and I would kind of just like pour my like little heart out into these captions.
Wow.
And I think that was how I processed a lot of stuff and was able to like, I don't know, just hold myself accountable.
We'll get into more of that, but is that where you got sober in Central Park? That is
Yeah,
your
it was
name?
very
in
literal.
Central Park. I love that.
It was very,
I was like, is this a dumb question? I want to know.
No, people ask me that.
I love that.
I was like, I'm literally just in Central Park all the time sober.
Yeah.
And I didn't know if I wanted to even show my face. Like, I was really nervous to make this account. It was a struggle. Like, I didn't know if I should do it or if anyone would care.
Because it's hard to put yourself out there, and one of your most intimate journeys. I give you so much credit. I don't know if I could have done that. But that's the inspiration when you put yourself out there.
Yeah,
That's what people respond to, the authenticity and the genuine journey. Yeah.
No, I mean, I remember I didn't tell anybody about my journey for the first few months. And then at 100 days, I posted about it on my old Instagram. Like just on the stories, or no, I made a post about it on Facebook too. And I wanted to like throw up when I posted it. I was like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Like, what if I drink again? What if I look like an idiot?
Because it's scary. Yeah.
But so many people messaged me being like, oh my gosh, me too, or I'm so proud of you. Or one person messaged me being like, oh my gosh, when we studied abroad in Barcelona, I didn't know if you were going to make it. Like,
Definitely made the right decision there.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Has sobriety changed for you or evolved for you over the time from the beginning to what it is now?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's a journey for sure. And the first year is just really uncomfortable, I think, for most people, because you're going through everything for the first time without alcohol.
Yeah.
And it's like the holidays, the birthday, all of these,
The boredom.
the boredom, but like all of these like events in life that we're told to drink during, whether it's like happy events, sad events, like whatever it is, like you have to go through it for that first time without alcohol.
Yes.
And so your brain has to like create these new neural pathways that like, you know, so it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
The second year is a little bit easier because you've done it once already. And then you get to a point where I just don't ever think about drinking. Like I don't want it. I'm happy I can be around it. It's no problem.
You've
like,
shown yourself you can do it all without it.
and but you get to a point where you like just don't want it.
Yeah.
Like, and I think there's a point where a lot of people go through where you're a little judgmental of other people drinking. And it's almost because, at least for me, like it reminded me of what I used to be like. So then you finally get to a point where you're just like at peace with it.
Yeah.
And I don't care what other people are doing. Other people can do whatever they want.
Yeah. What a journey.
It's a journey.
You know, some people associate being sober with complete abstinence to anything else, but I see a lot in the sober community that some people, use cannabis and natural mushrooms and whatnot to help with whatever their mental state, creativity, their wellness journey. How do you define this? Yeah, this.
I mean, I think there are multiple definitions of sobriety, and I think people can kind of determine what works for them. I think we all have very different journeys. And I think that the rise of cannabis and like adaptogenic mushrooms, for some people, maybe that's going to be triggering for them, and that's not part of their journey. But I think for a lot of people that it's okay. And I think that the community has changed a lot in the past like 10, 15, 20 years. And, if people are sober from alcohol, but they still use cannabis and that's what works, like that's great.
So it really depends on the person. For some, that may be a trigger to want to drink. Others, it's what they need or enjoy, and they can control it.
I think it depends on your intent a lot of times.
Interesting.
Like, I think like if you're using substances to numb and escape, that's a problem. Fair. Right? I think like, so for me, I'm ADHD. I'm super ADHD. Right. There are a lot of studies out there that say cannabis can actually really help people with ADHD. So for instance, like sometimes my brain is like buzzing, a million different things going on in there, right?
Sure.
And sometimes like if I use cannabis in a controlled way, it calms those voices down from like 15 voices to like 2.
Yeah.
And I can focus and get things done, right? But I think that there's a fine line, and it's really a personal decision.
So it's a personal decision. Respect it's their journey and their own. You talk about ADHD like you just did right now. Do you think that contributed to the drinking, and then helped, or how does it affect your sobriety?
Yes, it's directly related. I'm actually trying to write a book about the intersection of ADHD and addiction, because they are so closely linked, and I don't feel like enough people realize that.
Interesting.
So ADHD people, like, we don't produce enough dopamine in the brain naturally. So like anything that gives a dopamine release, you can become addicted to super easily.
Right.
But that's like, it could be alcohol, could be nicotine, but could also be people. It can be music. It can be like a lot of different things.
Right.
So yes, I mean, it's definitely a huge correlation.
So how have you managed that with sobriety? Is it harder?
No, I mean, actually, conversely, when I stopped drinking, my ADHD became way more manageable. It's like the anxiety thing, right? But I also did a lot of work in terms of like it really all comes down to our self-talk, in my opinion, how we treat ourselves and how we love ourselves.
Yes.
And so I've been seeing the same therapist since like 2017. And I remember in 2020, she said to me, I want you to start saying affirmations to yourself. And I was like, no.
You're like, I'm not doing that.
I was like, I'm not, no. She's like, please, just like look in the mirror.
And she stayed with you.
Oh yeah, we're still together. I still see her every week. And I remember like saying affirmations and crying and like not believing them. And then eventually, after saying them enough times, I think my subconscious started to believe it. Yeah. And once I started being nicer to myself and being accepting and like, I don't know, that voice in my head that used to be like so mean, it changed.
Oh,
that's when I was able to get sober.
That's beautiful. I think everyone can relate to that. They always say it until you feel it. Just say it. Even if you don't feel it, just keep saying it, and then your mind will catch up with you.
Yeah.
It's amazing what our self-talk, if we pay attention, what we're actually saying to ourselves every day.
I mean, that's definitely a big part of my journey. Like, I mean, even today, it's like a part of my routine. It's like saying affirmations every single day, like no matter what.
Is that part of your life coaching as well?
Oh yeah, my clients have to say affirmations. Yeah. Oh yeah, it's like
change the self-talk.
Yeah, most of us who are struggling with some kind of substance problem have really bad self-talk, and then we have shame and guilt because we can't get out of this like trap. It's like a cycle.
Yeah. Do you think people who are dealing with any kind of sobriety need a therapist? Someone to check in with?
Needs a therapist.
I know. That's a third-party person giving thoughts on that sounds amazing. Yes.
Like regardless of like where you are. Like I feel like I'm in a really good place in my life, and I still see my therapist every week.
Sure. It's like a touch base.
Yeah. Like, okay, so someone gave me this analogy once. Just when it stops raining, you're not going to throw away your umbrella.
Right. All right. Good.
Yeah.
And scene.
Yeah.
Done. Yeah, you're right. I was actually Googled non-alcoholic bars in New York City, and I thought there'd be a ton. There's a lot of pop-ups. There's nights devoted to. I mean, I don't know why you're the expert.
Yeah.
Is there one in the East Village?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's amazing.
I was going to ask, what are your favorite non-alcoholic bars? But I don't even know if that's a question I should ask. Is there enough that you would?
There's not enough to like make a list of them,
right?
Because it's a hard model to create. I mean, I'm working on opening one right now.
But can you talk about it?
Yeah,
okay.
I can. But the one in the East Village is great. It's called Hechtman, and it's a dive bar, and it's one of the first in the country that opened.
Amazing.
And done like some events there, and I love the owner. Her name's Abby. But
of course, you know her.
Oh, we're very good friends.
Of course. And listen, I give bars credit for doing nights and pop-ups and, meeting the community where they're at. There are wine and alcohol, like non-alcoholic stores popping up too.
Well, there have to be, because the laws in New York City, you can't sell non-alcoholic beverages in a liquor store. They can only sell alcohol.
Didn't know that.
So that's why these bottle shops have been popping up.
Got it.
Yeah.
What are your favorite non-alcoholic beverages?
I mean, I could open a store out of my apartment, like literally.
I'm sure you've tried them all.
I mean, it's crazy.
Are you able to list a couple that you love?
So my favorite, definitely one of my favorites is Curious Elixirs.
Okay.
They are based in Brooklyn, and they're just incredible. There's adaptogens in each different drink. Okay. They're all like super clean ingredients. The founder is just like a very close friend of mine as well. There are so many good ones.
Yeah, that's encouraging.
It's like picking favorite kids.
That's like, encouraging.
When I got sober, though, these options weren't here. I mean, there were like maybe a few on the market coming out, but I think like my sober journey and the rise of this sober curious movement and the non-alcoholic beverages, like it just was like this weird timing alignment.
Yeah.
And that's how everything happened with Sober in Central Park. Because like there weren't a lot of people sharing their journey on Instagram when I made it.
Do you think it's easier to be sober right now?
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah.
1000%.
That's encouraging too.
Yes, because it's so much more normalized.
It is. There are people just stopping because they're like, it's gross. I feel disgusting. Yeah. And it's more normal for people to go out to business dinners and out with friends instead of being embarrassed or pretending with their Sprite. They're just like, nah, I'm not doing it. And it's like, okay, back in the day, it was not like that.
No. Yeah. Even when I got sober, it wasn't like that.
That's hard.
Like, when I got sober, I had all of the like questions, like bartenders like asking me like what if I was like pregnant or what was like, going on.
So appropriate.
Yeah. Or waiters and waitresses like ignoring our table because we weren't ordering alcohol.
Okay.
And there were no mocktails on the menus.
No.
Like that wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's definitely different now.
So has the community changed since you've started your your Sober in Central Park page?
Yeah, I mean, people want to come and meet like-minded people and make new friends, and also not have to drink alcohol in order to do so.
Yeah.
And I realized that there was like kind of a hole in the market in terms of like, where do you go to make these friends? Where's a third space, where alcohol isn't present.
Right.
And you can still like mingle and talk to people, and so yes, there's the Sober Dive Bar in the East Village, and it's great.
Yeah.
But it's not that big of a space to do events, and I have always done events for my job, and I just thought like, okay, this seems like something I need to work on.
Yeah.
So it was just like an idea in my head, and then I don't know, like a year and a half ago, I was at an event for this nonprofit, and I met Carl Radke, who's on Bravo Summer House, and he was just there, and it was weird because I watched the show. Like I
just started this year, and then I binged it. Is that perfect timing?
I love that.
I know. Talk about a personal journey. He himself showed his intimate journey with sobriety and all of that. Yeah. So you connected.
So we connected. I actually introduced him to the owner of the dive bar. She came to that event with me. And so a few months later, she called me and she was like, Summer House is going to come film at the bar. Like, you have to come. And I was like, okay. So it was like a heat wave. And I remember going there, and we're sitting at the end of the bar, the two of us, and they're filming a scene for the show. And he's sitting there with his now ex. And
I remember the scene.
Yeah, he turns to her and he's like, I want to open a sober sports bar.
I remember.
And she like shoots it down.
Yeah.
But I'm just not in the frame, but I'm sitting down the bar.
Of course.
Which was just like, it's a weird coincidence now.
Yeah.
And then flash forward to this past April, there was a big company called Boisson, and they filed for bankruptcy, and it was like a big deal in our industry. And I remember like the show was airing, and he was having kind of a hard time, his breakup was playing out on TV. And so I just remember reaching out, and we started talking, and he told me he's moving. He's like, I'm moving ahead. I'm opening a sober bar. And I was like, I want in.
Yes.
I'll do the events.
That's
and
incredible.
The partnerships. Yeah.
I love New York City. The connections and then the big ideas and how this is now coming to fruition.
Yeah.
Soft Bar and Cafe, it's called, in Brooklyn. Opening soon?
Yes, hopefully. I mean, we signed our lease.
Awesome.
We had to do an entire build out in New York City. It's like things take time here.
I know.
So
a lot of red tape.
Yes, hopefully we'll be open in the spring.
Oh, so fun.
But in the meantime, we'll be doing pop-ups. So we actually have a big Dry January activation that I've been working so hard on.
That's so good.
It's going to be 4 days at this place called Clover Club. Okay. It's in Cobble Hill. It's like actually ranked one of the top bars like in the world. Their owner, it was on Netflix's Drink Masters. And so she's like an amazing mixologist.
Great.
And we'll be,
good for you.
Thanks.
I was going to ask what's next. It's like this natural progression of where you started and kind of like where you're going, girl.
I mean,
it's impressive.
It's been scary though. Like I was working at a nonprofit. I was the associate director of development. And then about almost 2 years ago, I left my job to try to do this full time.
Wow.
And I was just getting certified as a certified alcohol-free coach and trying to do events, but I had no plan. The universe just kind of like lined up where I was like, I need to take this leap.
Wow.
But last year was like really hard, really scary. And I didn't know if I had made the right decision, and like, but I just kept going, and I kept like trying to remind myself like the universe has my back. Things are going to work out the way they're supposed to. And then Soft Bar kind of happened.
Wow.
And so it's been...
First of all, that is so inspirational because everybody can relate to that. So it's not about not feeling that way or not feeling overwhelmed or what the heck am I doing. It's about what you're saying during it and how you're reacting to that moment.
Yeah.
That push through is so important. You could have literally went a different path.
I almost did a few times.
I believe it. You sound very entrepreneurial, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, that's entrepreneur. Like the high highs, the low lows. What am I doing? I'm doing great. I'm awful. I don't know what I'm doing. It's all part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was scary.
And trucking through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And having
faith. Every entrepreneur that has sat here has said that same thing.
Okay.
Yeah. You are one. That's
I never
impressive.
thought of myself as an entrepreneur, though. Like
you
never.
are. I keep telling people you are. Like, and that mindset is not for everyone, and you are that. You're doing it. That's incredible. Are there any posts that you posted on your page that that stand out to you that were your favorite or that meant a lot to you?
I would think so I used to post a lot more side by sides because I actually, like, from the worst of my drinking and COVID, and when I left the city, like, I had gained a ton of weight.
Wow.
And I did, like, literally looked in the mirror and I didn't recognize myself at all. And that honestly was part of the motivation too for getting sober. Like, my little sister was getting married and COVID had made her wedding get pushed back multiple times. And I was the maid of honor, and her wedding was October 2021 when I stopped drinking. And I was like, I'm going to look the best I can look for this wedding. It was my goal.
Yeah.
So I actually started Weight Watchers the same day I stopped drinking because
Wow.
I'm so all or nothing.
Way to pile it on.
So I was like, if I'm not going to drink, then I won't drink my extra points. And then maybe Weight Watchers will work.
Yeah.
And it did.
Amazing.
It did. Well, I lost almost 100 pounds. Like,
Are you kidding me?
no. Like,
That is incredible.
it was crazy.
I was not, sorry, this was a real reaction. I
Yeah.
was not expecting you to say that.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Like, I literally, like, it was crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would post these side by sides of
yeah.
like, it wasn't even just the weight. It was like, you could see there was no emotion in my eyes. Like, I was like,
I've seen side by sides, and I will say, you look like a different person. Not even physically. I never say the word countenance, but like your face it's brighter. It's happier.
Yeah.
You're like, I know.
No, I mean, it's crazy. It's like,
Yeah.
I mean, in seeing the difference, it would help me remember what
Your
it was
beauty
like before.
shines. Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
But I know, like, when I would post, I would try to think about, like, what would old me have needed to see to make her stop scrolling and to maybe, like, reevaluate her relationship with
And you think
alcohol.
those side by sides help?
Yeah. Well, I get a lot of DMs about that, like, that kind of stuff. So, like, when I started getting a lot of DMs from people that were like, I found your page and now I'm 6 months sober. Or like, I started following you when I was still drinking and now I'm a year sober.
I was going to ask you, have you gotten any, what feedback have you gotten from your influence?
Yeah, I mean, I get those every day.
I mean, what do you do with that? That is so inspiring and fulfilling to know that you're making a difference.
I mean, that's why I stopped working at my nonprofit, because I wanted to make an impact.
Yeah.
Like but taking money from wealthy New Yorkers and giving it to people who need it, like, don't get me wrong, I loved that.
Yeah.
But like,
there's a different path for you.
Yeah, knowing that, like, sharing my journey was helping other people, like, I don't know, it's like it's crazy.
So obviously you're a life coach and you're doing this. I mean, is relapsing part of the journey as well?
I think for some people,
okay.
Yeah. I mean, when I work with people, yes, some people will have slip-ups.
Okay.
And that happens. I like to tell people to see it as a data point. And sometimes people need to be reminded of why they don't want to do something anymore.
Fair. That's why I say part of the journey. It's not like it's stopped and it's part of it.
Yeah.
Okay, pick yourself back up.
Yeah. No, it is. A lot of people, it's really hard for people to just stop and then never do it again.
Yeah.
I do think I'm an anomaly. I don't know how.
Wow, that's impressive. I think you are.
I mean, and I didn't have any support. I, like, just white knuckled it.
Who are you?
I don't know. Like, I literally don't know how I did that.
You're in Central Park walking your dog.
Making a lot of tea. Every time I wanted to drink, I made a cup of tea. And it was, at one point, like, I was drinking like 10 cups of tea a day. And it was like kind of crazy.
Tea. What's the tea you're drinking? We all want it.
I don't know. Went to the grocery store at like Fairway and I picked every single flavor. And I was like, okay.
That's awesome. Okay. I love it.
Crazy.
I'm doing peppermint right now for the season.
I like peppermint.
So dating in New York City.
Oh my God.
First of all, you probably had to relearn that. And I think everyone can relate to that. You know, the nervousness, let's grab a drink. How did you associate, did you have to relearn how to date?
Well, not only that, I was just so impulsive and crazy in my old life. I was married to an Italian man that we went to the courthouse and like got married. That was my idea. Yeah. It was like a 90-day fiance situation. Wow. Actually, like, we got a K1 visa and we had 90 days to get married.
Wow. Oh,
and
literally.
I didn't tell my parents till after.
Wow.
So
you should write a book.
I'm trying.
Yeah.
But so that I also had to relearn dating because I had been in this relationship for a long time. But I had to totally like relearn what it was like to get to know somebody without drinking.
Yeah. Do you think sober people should date like-minded?
Depends.
Sober people?
I think it depends.
Oh, it depends on the person.
It depends on the person.
What's their trigger? What's not? If it's not their trigger,
I think if it wasn't my whole business and my entire like day to day, maybe it wouldn't be such a problem for me to like date somebody that still drinks.
Okay.
I mean, I would be fine dating somebody if they had like a drink every now and then, but like I've tried to date people that are like quote unquote normies, as they say in certain circles.
Yeah.
And it was bad because like this one guy, he would like got wasted on a Wednesday night. We were supposed to go out on Thursday, and then he was super hungover and had to cancel.
That's
and I was
hard.
like, well, no one's hangovers are going to affect my time.
Yeah.
Hangovers affected my time enough in my life.
Yeah.
So like, we're not doing that.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Yeah.
I don't blame you.
Yeah.
What are the can you give some tips for the person who is, is going out to all these social situations, doesn't want to drink, doesn't want to be badgered, a little insecure? How do they communicate their boundaries, or do they not? Do they just whole day LaCroix and it looks like a drink? What advice do you have for that person?
So I think, listen, a lot of times if people question you about drinking, it's because of their own insecurities.
Fair.
It's like holding up a mirror. So
Sure.
when people are like, how much were you drinking when you like before you stopped? They're trying to measure in their own heads, do I have a drinking problem? And so just keep that in mind. It's usually not about you, it's about them.
That's so funny you say that. I have a couple friends who just don't drink. I could care less.
Yeah.
I'm just like, cool. Grab a mocktail. But sometimes people badger people.
Oh yeah, it's because their own
Because they're feeling, they want you to partake. They don't want to feel so bad.
Well, for
Fair.
instance, if you have you have a group of friends and everyone drinks a lot, and then one person stops, right? It's going to force everyone else in the group to think about their own drinking.
Sure.
And a lot of people don't want to.
Right.
So it makes them uncomfortable, and
Right.
they're going to push that uncomfortability back onto you.
Right.
So my tip is definitely have a drink in your hand. Always have a drink in your hand, because if you're not holding something, people are going to try to get you a drink, or they're going to ask you questions.
Yeah.
Maybe put it into a glass that kind of looks like so people don't know.
Yes.
I also like when you go to the party, you want to have a plan. So you either want to know what you're going to say ahead of time. What do you feel comfortable saying to people? And like, if you're really new in the journey and you just don't want to talk about it, sometimes I tell my clients, and this is a white lie, like, you're on antibiotics and you can't drink right now.
That's true. I mean, do what you need to do.
Do what you need to do.
You don't owe anybody anything.
No,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
don't.
Yeah.
And like,
fair.
Sometimes that's just easier than having to like say that, you know, I'm 25 days without alcohol and trying not to drink. That can be overwhelming.
Yeah.
It's okay to protect yourself.
What do you say to the person that is curious about entering the sobriety world but doesn't know where to start? It just seems like a lot.
Pick up some books, some quit lit books, as they're called, quit literature.
Okay.
It's a really good place to start.
Okay.
Look on Sober Instagram, reach out to people that have done it, and try a dry month. Like, so dry January is like a huge thing now.
Very common. Yeah, across the board.
It's a good time to try it because it's so normalized and people aren't going to question you as much. But also, like, it takes 60 days to actually really feel like effects, in my opinion. Like, you'll feel something after 30 days. You don't get me wrong. Like, you're going to feel something. But to really start feeling the joys of this journey, it's going to take more than 1 month. And I think a lot of people like do a dry month and they're like, oh, I feel okay, I'm going to go back to drinking. They haven't given it enough time to really feel what it's like.
I do find, though, the people that do that dry month, they say it was really hard that first week or two, but I don't really need it or want it right now. And I do know some people that just kept it moving and just, there's no reason to drink. So I'm not going to have a drink. And February goes by and they realize they don't need it to function. And then they start to feel better. It's like a huge paradigm shift.
Yeah.
So dry January is awesome.
The first week is hard.
First week's very hard, I'm sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, but I think not telling yourself it's forever. That's another trick. You don't want to be like, I'm never having a drink again. Because like speaking in forever terms kind of sets you up for failure. Sure. So like for me, when I did it, I didn't even start till January 3rd because my mom was like, let's do it. And I was like, no, I'm not doing dry January. And I partied on New Year's and I had a horrible hangover for 2 days. And on the 3rd, I was like, all right, let's try this. But I told myself just January, like we're just doing January. And I got to the end of January and I was like, I feel great. Let's see how long I can go.
That doesn't feel as overwhelming every month, every day at a time, right?
Yeah,
1 day at a time.
1 day at a time.
Yeah. I know this is a cliche podcast question, but I love it. What would you say to your 20-year-old self? What you need today? I love it.
I talk
because
to her all
there's
the
a 20-year-old out there listening. So talk to her right now.
Yeah, no, I love talking to my old self. 20-year-old me was very, very like not okay, like very broken and just really, really struggling.
Yeah.
I would tell her it's going to be okay. It's going to work out. Stop trying to control everything. And you're going to make it. Because I think the 20-year-old me, like, definitely didn't think I was going to, like, make it past 30. Like, it wasn't just alcohol. Like, I was, like, in the rave scene, in the festivals, going to all of these big, you know, whatever. But yeah, I mean, you're going to make it. You can do it.
I mean, you mentioned the affirmations. I mean, if that had started earlier for anybody, would that have helped?
I think that would have helped, but I think that I had to do a ton of internal work and I had to kind of get to this point of no return for me to like really make this decision. I also think I had to experience a lot of stuff that I went through in my old life in order to appreciate my life now.
Definitely.
So like, I don't go back and I don't regret things in the past and I don't like beat myself up for the way things happened.
Yeah.
I think that if those hadn't all lined up the exact way, I wouldn't be here right now.
Fair.
You know? So yeah, I wish I'd been a little nicer to myself, but
We all could say that.
Yeah.
My last question is, how do you balance that very public page of sharing your journey, your intimate, feelings about your sobriety, both good and challenging, with privacy? How do you balance that? Or do you not balance it? You just go day by day?
It's hard. It's changed
is hard.
too in the past. So I've
Okay.
had the account for a little over 3 years, and I used to I think I used to share more stuff than I do now.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's hard. I overshare. I'm an oversharer.
Well, I think that's part of your charm. I think that people feel like you're their friends, and you're sharing things that a lot of people feel. Right. So what's changed? How have you added a little bit more privacy while also maintaining your authentic voice?
I mean, it's hard.
Maturity, life. Growth,
Just going through the journey, and also like, I mean, being in this industry too. No, I still try to share, and I'm very open. And people ask me questions, I'm going to always answer. And but I think now too, like my dating life, like that has kind of impacted my page. Like I've had really weird situations happen with people like making troll accounts and stalking my stories, and like just I've realized that I have to keep some things close.
I get that. Very
but
smart.
I've had to learn the hard way.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you're doing a great job, and
Thank
everybody, you've inspired so many people. So keep it up. But I did want to finish with some rapid fire before you go.
Okay.
If you're game.
Yeah.
Whatever comes to mind. I feel like you'll be good at this.
Okay.
Subway or bus?
Subway.
Favorite place for coffee or tea?
Starbucks.
Yeah.
I know that's like a really quick.
It's okay. No, some people say their house. They're my kitchen. What keeps you up at night?
Oh my gosh. Aliens, the end of the world. Like
Just light things.
Yes.
Anything that pops in your head at that moment. Got it.
Yeah.
What's your favorite New York City activity?
Walking in Central Park.
Of course.
Yeah.
So on brand.
Yeah.
What's your go-to shopping spots?
Oh my gosh. Down in Soho, like walking down there. I don't know. I'm like, I'm so bad at shopping, honestly. Like Bloomingdale's though too.
No, one-stop shop. Date night spots.
Date night spots. Restaurants like that are, I don't know.
Wherever someone takes you out for it.
Yeah, I really like Uva over here.
Yeah.
It's like one of my favorite restaurants.
Yeah, it's super cozy.
Yeah, just like a cozy little like dinner. And
it's the person, not the place.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. What's the challenging part of your day?
Keep staying focused and not scrolling on social media and my ADHD and getting overwhelmed trying to do a million things at the same time.
Yeah. Okay, got it. What's your self-care routine?
Self-care routine, making sure I walk, say my affirmations, trying to be better about my journaling routine.
I'm so impressed with people that journal.
I mean, I do it in my notes app on my phone.
Better. That's better. It feels less than like getting your lock and opening. I'm joking.
Yeah, no. But like, it's also like when I feel like for a second, oh, maybe I should journal. Just do it. Yeah. And then it starts flowing.
That feels less commit. I like that. Less.
And you can do it anywhere.
Yeah. at any time like that. Any fave celeb spotting or running that?
I saw Sarah Jessica Parker once on the subway.
Good one.
This was
On the subway? Good one.
On the B train. I was running late for work, and I remember like it was like 10:30, and I was super late, hungover, like sitting there, and she like gets on the train, and she's like, it was like pretty empty, and she's just sitting there. She looked like Harry Bradshaw. Her hair was good, and I was looking at her like,
She wearing heels?
yeah, no, she like totally looked like Harry Bradshaw, and we locked eyes, and she kind of gave me the eyes like, don't come up to me. Don't. And not that like, you know, as the New Yorkers, you shouldn't do that, but Sarah Jessica Parker on the subway by herself.
But I love that you're a New Yorker and she is, where she gave you the look and you're like, got it. Cool.
I was like, all right, I'm not going to go up.
That's a good one. Thank you for sharing. That's awesome. Best part of your day?
Best part of my day? I know I keep saying it, but like walking in the park with my dog.
I love that. Yeah, I thought you were going to say your dog.
My dog, yeah, George. My dog, George.
George, I
Yes.
love his name.
Yeah.
Walking in the park. I love that.
Yeah, that's like how we started our day.
Yeah.
It's like the best part of the day.
Thank you so much for hanging out with me today.
Thanks for having me. This has been great.